You know, Jimmy and JoAnne, back in the day, Cher used to like change wardrobe and pop out a second later. I was just out on the street. Here I am with you guys. How are you tonight?
Great.
Fine. How are
Thank
you?
you, Jason.
How are the
I'm
streets of New
well.
York?
Well, I didn't do a full, I've become kind of known for these walks around New York City here over the past 3 weeks. People are very interested in understanding what is going on with the coronavirus. And so I've been trying to give people the on the ground information. I didn't have time for a full walk around today. It's tiring. I don't know if people realize the amount of ground that I've covered in the past several
Oh, yeah.
days, but I was on the phone quite a lot today. We've got some questions for some of the people that have been in the news, some of the people that run the hospitals around New York City. They don't like answering a lot of questions. I featured today on our image some sinister individuals who you guys are going to fill us in on a little bit. We've been talking a lot about Bill Gates, the Bill Gates Foundation, Anthony Fauci. They seem to be better friends than perhaps people might have initially realized. What are we going to be talking about tonight, guys?
Well, of course, we got an update on Libya. The Turkish drones are bombing the hell out of the Libyan army, and obviously, Erdogan is getting help from lots and lots of countries, Tunisia, et cetera, and a lot of collusion with the United States. And Trump is hand in hand with Erdogan, which is a two-faced approach of his. But the Libyan army is continuing to move forward, and they're not about to stop their defense of their country. And
No,
so,
we'll have a little update from the Libyan tribes.
yeah,
I spoke to them today and they're working hard, but they said it's very difficult for them. The drones have attacked civilians, quite a bit of them. They blew up a tanker full of fuel.
wow,
They attacked Bani Walid. They attacked Sirte. They've attacked a lot of other places. And the Libyan army is retaliating by attacking their drone headquarters. And they've killed over 50 Turkish military leaders who have been there to try to teach the Muslim Brotherhood illegitimate government in Tripoli how to use these drones. And so they're working. They will never stop. I don't care if Trump says it or
yeah,
Erdogan says it or the UN says it or anybody says it. They will not stop for a ceasefire because the other side never stops. They're not going
yeah.
to allow, as they win, they're not going to stop and let the other side catch up.
And while
Yeah.
everybody here is scrambling, I want everybody to remember that Trump authorized a gift to Erdogan's daughter of $8 billion to build that drone factory in Turkey, and that's where all these drones are coming from. So, it's pretty tough when when you've been sanctioned from buying any weapons or anything like the Libyan army has to fight a huge, very aggressive, very well equipped, well financed country
Well,
like Turkey.
the
Same
one
thing happened in 2011.
Yeah, one of the things they've done is the EU has started Project Irene, and that is their military uh, surveillance of the area, the Mediterranean in front of Libya, to stop these ships and planes from bringing in all these weapons. And the French stopped a Turkish ship with a bunch of weapons in it. The Italians have
I
stopped
think they
one.
sank one, didn't
Yeah,
they?
and the French were so angry at this, they said they have a submarine now in front of Libya in the Mediterranean. So
The
we're
French did.
hoping, and the Libyans are hoping, this stops these weapons from coming into that are attacking the Libyan people.
Then we
It's not
got
just the
yeah.
army.
Then we're going to devote a bunch of the show today about the financial side. We didn't get to cover that last week because Joe was such an interesting guy, from
Joe
France,
Quinn.
SOT Radio,
Yeah.
and we want to get into that because we've got to really understand why there is all this disinformation coming from the governments all over the world about the shape of
Crony.
the virus. And to give you our update of our walkabout, our old refrigerator gave out. The one that was in this house was 42 years old,
Wow.
and so we looked on Craigslist to try to find one we could afford, and we called, and we started making an ever expanding circle on Sunday, and we ended up 120 miles from here in North Houston. And actually, we ended up buying a refrigerator from a couple that was there. Everything had been moved out, and they're leaving tomorrow.
To go where?
And they hadn't had anybody. They're
They were in
moving to
North
some other
Houston.
part.
They
Yeah,
were
they're
going
North
somewhere.
Houston.
But
And
aren't
so,
people locked down in Texas? I don't mean to interrupt the refrigerator story.
I'm gonna finish telling you that's the refrigerator is the lead up of why this happened. Anyhow, I offered him $20 less than half of what he was asking, and since they're leaving tomorrow, we got a real nice refrigerator, cheap and dirty. But in that process, when we first pulled into the North Houston area,
The Woodlands Conroe area.
on the left hand side is a huge hospital complex at I-45 and 242. There's about 15 high-rise buildings in that area, but the front building is the hospital.
One of them is Texas Children's Hospital.
And the parking lot looked empty. So we went on the other side of the expressway to pull in there. And Jason, there was a banner on sawhorses. It was about 8 foot wide, 4 or 5 foot tall. No cameras allowed.
Really?
On the entrance to the parking lot, and the parking lot was empty. Now this is I've never been by there when the parking lot wasn't full, and so that kind of piqued our interest, and because it's really not safe for us to travel anyhow. We did not want to go and
we didn't want to bring any attention to ourselves.
They had cameras all over, in the light poles all over the parking lot, and so we didn't want to be caught filming anything. But that was the first one, and then about 20 minutes later or so, that first refrigerator didn't work. We looked at another one, another hospital complex. Methodist is about 2 blocks away, so we drove over there, and then they had barricades set up in front of the parking lots and everything. In the emergency side, ambulances parked out front. Nobody
there, just
maybe
quiet. Maybe
20 cars.
Well, yeah, by the hospital, 2 cars maybe.
And so then after that, we went to a third hospital in that area. Hospital. And that was Christus, another big hospital. Nobody's there either. So, for any claims that these hospitals are overloaded and they're going to have to go to auxiliary, that's just
there was traffic on the roads, maybe 20%, 30% less than normal, but people were drive-through restaurants and people were at Lowe's and Home Depot. Parking lots were full. I would say maybe 20% of the people had masks on. Most of them didn't.
Huh.
And people were running. They were riding bikes. They were. It looked like a normal day to me.
Gasoline was $1.44 a gallon.
Wow.
So
you felt like it was 1976 or something like that.
I know.
Yeah. So we didn't get the 1980s since gas was that cheap, right? When's the last time gas was $1.44 again? Maybe the 90s.
Yeah.
Oh no!
Here in
before
Texas,
that.
Yeah, in Texas we had it about 15 years ago. But the fact is, in those 3 big hospitals, now we didn't go down into Houston proper. However, one of our good friends is a veteran, and he was having some eye surgery. He had a detached retina, and it was like his second or third surgery. And there's a huge vet hospital, probably the nicest,
one of the biggest in the United States,
veterans hospitals in the United States. And Bob said that normally when he goes there, he said, you can drive around the block trying to get into the parking building. He said this time he pulled right in, got a front pew parking slot.
He took pictures of it. He said, this is unbelievable. He said there's nobody here except those of us that had prior appointments, I guess.
And then, the report. Well,
it's very, if there's bodies pouring out and ICUs filled to the brim and all this, where are all the people? There should be at least nurses or doctors or somebody walking in and out, or cars, or something going on.
And
this is an impressive looking building. Is this solar energy all over the top of the Veterans Hospital?
They got a lot of solar in there. Huh. JoAnne's got a link to a doctor in Katy, Texas, which is a big, real nice suburb in southwest side of Houston, down I-10 where it comes into Houston. And this doctor used to be an MD, and he got tired of his patients not ever getting well, so he became a naturopath, and
he calls it a wellness center. And he uses vitamins and diet and exercise and other things to help people get better. And
JoAnne's got a real nice link that people will be able to get on our Patreon site.
He did a videotape statement, and I put it on Vimeo, and we'll give the link out to everybody and we can play a little bit of on our show. You can.
And then we've got a gal that was a 20-year employee of FEMA and Homeland Security, and she finally had enough. And so she left with a couple of suitcases, gave up everything, and a really nice long interview with her, a real nice lady, and she outs everything that they have had in the works for a long time.
That's a link on YouTube.
That's going to be a link.
It's still there
on Patreon.
I don't know, yeah.
Well, and that's what we've been talking about just prior to the show. Let me just give everybody a little background information, because we've got a lot of people viewing right now. And over the weekend, certainly since our last show, Jimmy and JoAnne, the Jason Goodman YouTube channel, the main home for Crowdsource the Truth, has reached 100,000 YouTube subscribers. So I want to once again thank you guys for helping me get there. Thank all the viewers. And it's important for people who haven't seen Jimmy and JoAnne before. I want them to know Jimmy and JoAnne are not just two friendly people who are in Texas sharing information with us. They are the couple who started an oil services business in Libya. And from 2007 to 2011, they had a very prosperous business in a country that most people in America know nothing about. Their business was going swimmingly until the U.S.-led NATO-backed invasion of Libya that resulted in its utter destruction, the murder of Gaddafi, the destruction of their businesses and personal finances. People can find out all about this by going to their free website, LibyanWarTheTruth.com. You can purchase their DVD, Escape from Al-Qaeda. Jimmy and JoAnne are the only two known individuals to have escaped the clutches of Al-Qaeda, near death, of course. And we've learned today from Jimmy's refrigerator anecdote, you don't want to get into a negotiation with Jimmy unless you're going to come up short, because he was able to negotiate their way out of certain death. And it's a fantastic story for people to hear. If you want to get free shipping on the DVD, it's only $15 to buy and $5 to ship within the United States. You can become a sponsor of Jimmy and JoAnne on patreon.com/James and JoAnne Moriarty. Send them an email once you become a sponsor. You're going to get free shipping on the DVD. You're also going to get access to the entire library of Unseen Libya with Jimmy and JoAnne Moriarty. That's the show we're doing every week, where we've brought in guests from far and wide, including people on the ground in Libya, and of course, the esteemed senator, former state senator Richard Black. Boy, we're having a tough time scrolling here today. Richard Black has been with us many times thanks to Jimmy and JoAnne, and he's shared his insights. He's been to Syria and spoken with Bashar al-Assad. So if people want to really understand what's going on in North Africa, in the Middle East, get a good handle on how the petrodollar impacts our day-to-day lives, and how, from a practical standpoint, not some fancy guy in some MSNBC studio who's a billionaire, Jimmy and JoAnne have a way of breaking down these economic situations and helping people understand them. If you're not an economist, but just a regular person who's locked down in their house right now, wondering what's going to happen to their small business, what's going to happen to their job, what do these indices mean, and what can we look at as average people to get an idea for where the economy is going and what some of these things mean. We've got just about 15 minutes until we're going to start the sponsor exclusive show on Patreon and Subscribestar. Jimmy and JoAnne, what can you say before we make the transition over there in the last few minutes here during the preview?
Yeah, Jason, I just want to say one thing about Jimmy and I that most people don't know, and that is that we were there in 2011 in Libya on the ground with the great tribes of Libya for over 100 days. And we are eyewitnesses to the war crimes that were committed there and to the lies. And we have proof of that by video and photographs. And that's what we put on our Patreon show. Yeah. And I want to thank you, Jason, for doing all your walkarounds. You know, you started a craze. Everybody's doing it now. Everybody.
Our friend from France did it. You know,
people in Colorado are doing it. Everywhere they're doing it.
Well, that's
and today
good to
we're going to try to, we're going to try to help everybody understand why in the world would our government and other governments collapse all these businesses over a flu virus or a bad cold virus. So we're going to try to bring some reality to that, and lots of documents and everything to back that up. You know, we try to bring the financial side. That's my background. I'm a banker and a trust manager, extreme high net worth clients and everything. And when JoAnne and I had booked $5 billion worth of business in Libya, that's a substantial amount of business for anybody. And so we understand big numbers, and we understand what makes things happen. And we think we're going to be able to bring some reality to the financial side to show why these governments are trying to lock us down, to keep the truth hidden from us, to deflect our view to something that really does not wash.
Yeah.
So come see us at Patreon. We think you're going to enjoy it.
Absolutely. And I also want to let people know, you guys have brought up an important point. You've been sharing controversial information for a long, long time. It just gets booted off of YouTube. Nobody gets to see it. You don't get an opportunity to, get any traction and build an audience in the way we've been able to do with Crowdsource the Truth. It's been a very delicate balance between sharing information as widely as we can on YouTube to build the audience of 100,000 and then building this audience that recognizes that we just can't put certain information on YouTube without being immediately shut down. So we've used YouTube to help gain momentum and put the word out that we're doing these shows, but we really need people to join us on patreon.com/James and JoAnne Moriarty, patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth, and subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth to really share the kind of information that YouTube doesn't want people to see. YouTube has determined that Crowdsource the Truth is sharing harmful information. They were very vague about that. They didn't tell us who or what it was harmful to. If YouTube is on the side of the technocratic totalitarian overlords who want to control what people think, what they can see, and what they're allowed to access on the internet, well, then certainly Crowdsource the Truth is harmful, and we need your help in keeping it that way. Join us on Patreon and Subscribestar. We'll be back in just 10 minutes. See everybody there. Thanks for watching.
Thank you, Jason.